In December 2001, outside a Saks Fifth Avenue in Beverly Hills, flashing cameras captured a moment that would redefine an entire career. The woman stepping into the spotlight that day was not a fallen star. She was Winona Ryder, one of the most respected actresses of her generation. An Oscar nominee, a cultural icon of the 1,990 seconds. And, until that moment, untouchable. Within hours, Hollywood's narrative changed, contracts disappeared, roles vanished, and a question began to follow her everywhere. What went wrong? But the real story of Winona Ryder doesn't begin with that arrest, and it doesn't end with her comeback years later. It begins much earlier, with success that arrived too fast, expectations that grew too heavy, and a system that never learned how to protect the people it elevated. In this documentary, we'll trace the rise that made her a generational symbol, the hidden pressure behind her artistic peak, the single incident that turned the industry against her, the years she vanished from the frame, and the quiet return that redefined what survival looks like in Hollywood. This is not a story about scandal. This is a story about what happens when fame moves faster than a human being can endure. This is what really happened to Winona Ryder. The image we were given. By the late 1,980 seconds, Hollywood had already decided who Winona Ryder was supposed to be. In 1988, at just 17 years old, she appeared in Beetlejuice, filmed primarily in East Corinth, Vermont, and released by Warner Brothers. The film grossed over $74 million worldwide, and Ryder immediately stood out not for glamour, but for restraint. She didn't look like a future movie star. She looked like someone watching from the edge. 1 year later, in 1989, Heathers premiered. Shot in Los Angeles, California, the film would later become a cult classic, redefining how teenage alienation was portrayed on screen. At 18, Ryder became the face of intelligent rebellion, sharp, ironic, and emotionally distant. Then came 1,990. Edward Scissorhands, filmed across Florida locations, including Lutz and Tampa, was released by 20th Century Fox. The movie earned approximately $86 million globally on a $20 million budget. Ryder was 19 years old. To the public, this was the rise of a perfect career. But behind the scenes, something quieter was forming. Winona Ryder wasn't being cast as different women. She was being cast as the same idea over and over again. And that image would soon become a trap. Success that arrived too early. Winona Ryder entered what critics would later call her golden era. But numbers tell a more complicated story. In 1993, she appeared in The Age of Innocence, filmed primarily in New York City, under the direction of Martin Scorsese. The role earned her a Golden Globe Award and an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actress. She was 22 years old. Just 1 year later, in 1994, Ryder starred in Little Women, shot across Massachusetts locations, including Concord and Harvard. The film grossed approximately $50 million worldwide, and Ryder received her second Oscar nomination, this time for Best Actress. She was 23. From 1993 to 1999, Ryder appeared in 9 major feature films, an average of more than 1 studio film per year, not including promotional tours, press junkets, and award campaigns concentrated in Los Angeles, New York, and international festival circuits. Publicly, this was dominance. Privately, it was erosion. In later interviews, Ryder admitted to suffering from chronic insomnia during this period, sometimes going several nights without sleep, while maintaining full shooting schedules. Production days regularly stretched 12 to 14 hours, followed by red-eye flights between Los Angeles and New York for press obligations. By 1999, during the filming of Girl, Interrupted, shot in Harris County, Texas, Ryder was no longer just exhausted. She was medicated. Hollywood saw awards. Audiences saw prestige. But beneath the success, the pace itself had become unsustainable. And the system kept pushing, because, from the outside, nothing looked wrong. When the pressure finally cracked, By the late 1990 seconds, the strain on Winona Ryder was no longer invisible, it was simply ignored. In 1998, Ryder was living primarily between Los Angeles, California, and New York City, maintaining a schedule that included film shoots, press tours, and awards campaigns with little interruption. That same year, she abruptly withdrew from Shakespeare in Love, a project set to film in London, United Kingdom, citing exhaustion and anxiety. The decision raised eyebrows in the industry, but no one publicly asked why. In 1999, during the production of Girl Interrupted, filmed in Harris County, Texas, Ryder's condition worsened. Shooting days regularly exceeded 12 hours, often followed by night shoots. According to later accounts, she was prescribed multiple medications, including sleep aids and anti-anxiety drugs, in order to remain functional on set. Then came February 2000. While attending an event in Los Angeles, Ryder collapsed and was hospitalized at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. Doctors diagnosed her with severe exhaustion and dehydration, a rare moment when the pace of Hollywood physically stopped her body. She was 28 years old. To the public, this was framed as a brief health scare, an inconvenience, not a warning. Studio schedules resumed. Expectations remained unchanged. Ryder returned to work, even as her mental and physical stability continued to erode. What Hollywood refused to acknowledge was simple. The system had pushed one of its most valuable stars past the point of recovery. And the breaking point was no longer theoretical. It was approaching fast, and it had an address. December 12, 2010. At approximately 3:30 p.m. on the 12th of December 2001, Winona Ryder entered Saks Fifth Avenue, located at 9600 Wilshire Boulevard, Beverly Hills, California. Less than 2 hours later, at around 5:20 p.m., store security stopped her near the exit. Inside her handbag, loss prevention officers documented merchandise valued at approximately $5,500. The items included designer clothing and accessories. Ryder was taken into custody by the Beverly Hills Police Department the same evening. She was 30 years old. The arrest report was processed at the Beverly Hills Police Station on Rexford Drive, less than 1 mile from the store. Within hours, the story moved from police scanners to national headlines. By the next morning, her name dominated front pages across Los Angeles, New York, and international tabloids. The trial began in October 2002 at the Los Angeles County Superior Court. On the 6th of November 2002, the verdict was delivered. Convicted on 2 counts, grand theft and shoplifting. Sentence: 3 years probation, 480 hours of community service, $6 in fines and restitution. But the legal consequences were only part of the damage. Within weeks, Ryder lost endorsement deals. Film projects in development were quietly canceled. Studio insurance companies flagged her as a financial risk, making casting negotiations difficult even for supporting roles. Hollywood did not wait for recovery. It did not ask why. It simply moved on. And from that moment forward, Winona Ryder was no longer treated as a leading actress, but as a liability the system could not afford. The disappearance from the frame. After the conviction in November 2002, Winona Ryder did not issue a dramatic farewell. She simply stopped being present. Between 2002 and 2010, the numbers tell the story clearly. From 1988 to 2001, Ryder appeared in over 20 major studio films, averaging 1 to 2 releases per year. From 2002 to 2010, that number dropped to fewer than 6 films total, most of them limited releases or supporting roles. The shift was immediate. By 2003, Ryder relocated primarily to New York City, avoiding the Hollywood circuit centered in Los Angeles, California. She was rarely seen at premieres, award ceremonies, or studio events. When she did appear publicly, it was often for theater work or independent projects far from the spotlight. In 2007, she starred in The 10, filmed in New York, a small ensemble comedy that received limited theatrical distribution. The film grossed under $4 million worldwide, a stark contrast to the tens of millions her earlier work routinely generated. Casting records from the mid-2000s show a pattern repeated across studios. Ryder was considered talent-approved, but insurance-restricted, meaning production insurers either raised premiums or declined coverage entirely. In practical terms, this meant fewer offers and smaller roles. By 2010, she was 39 years old, not retired, not officially blacklisted, just no longer centered in the frame. Hollywood had replaced her quietly, without ceremony. And in an industry that measures relevance by visibility, absence itself became the verdict. Winona Ryder did not announce a disappearance. The system simply learned how to move forward without her. The return that wasn't a comeback. In 2015, a script arrived at the Los Angeles offices of Netflix, then still redefining what television could be. It was set in a fictional town called Hawkins, Indiana, but production would take place hundreds of miles away, in Atlanta, Georgia. For Winona Ryder, this was not a headline-making announcement. There were no press conferences, no red carpet declarations of return. She was cast as Joyce Byers, filming for Stranger Things. Season 1 began in November 2015, primarily at Screen Gems Studios in Atlanta and surrounding locations in Jackson and Stockbridge, Georgia. Ryder was 44 years old. When the series premiered on the 15th of July 2016, Netflix reported that the show reached over 14 million viewers in its first 35 days, making it one of the platform's most watched original series at the time. For the first time in over a decade, Winona Ryder was not framed as a problem to manage, but as a presence to trust. In 2017, the cast received a Screen Actors Guild Award nomination for Outstanding Performance by an Ensemble in a Drama Series. Ryder attended the ceremony in Los Angeles, standing not at the center but firmly within the group. The role was telling. Joyce Byers was anxious, disbelieved, emotionally exposed, a woman dismissed by institutions until it was almost too late. It was not a reinvention. It was recognition. Winona Ryder did not return as the star Hollywood remembered. She returned as the woman she had become on her own terms, in a system finally willing to let her exist without punishment. The question that remains. By 2020, Winona Ryder had spent more than 3 decades in the public eye, and nearly half of that time outside Hollywood's center frame. The numbers are clear. A rapid rise before the age of 20. 2 Oscar nominations by 23. A public collapse at 30. Nearly a decade of near invisibility. And a return at 44. Not as a symbol, but as a survivor. Hollywood often tells stories of comebacks, but this was something quieter. Winona Ryder did not fight her way back into the spotlight. She waited until the spotlight no longer demanded that she be someone else. So the question isn't whether she lost her career, or whether Hollywood forgave her. The real question is this: what really happened to Winona Ryder? Did she disappear because she failed Hollywood, or because Hollywood failed her? And if survival means stepping out of the frame, who decides what success is supposed to look like?